there, this is Dr. Renee Pleasant of Pleasant Leadership Consulting, where we inspire your leadership freedom. So today I want to talk to you about a new series that we're launching, and it's called Increasing Productivity. What a great series for the new year. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? This segment within the series of improving productivity is called work environment. So everything in this segment is about, well, your work environment. Let's begin. Mental tips that increase your productivity. Okay, let's begin with lighting. And let me just tell you right now, my lighting is not the best because the sun is coming up. All right, so if you're in an area where you are want to increase the brainstorming, I suggest that you select lights that have a little bit of a blue enriched lighting to them. That's going to increase brainstorming immensely. But if you're in an area that you want to bring people closer together, increase that bonding, like the break room, then you want to select warmer bulbs or natural light like I have right now with the sun coming in. Or let's say that you want everybody to be alert, like you're in the conference room and you want them to be tuned into the message that's going on, then you want to select bulbs that have that middle tone. Keep them all awake for the important message that you as the leader are delivering to them. Hey guys, we're continuing on with your work environment and how you create your work environment does increase and impact your productivity. So did you know that color matters? It does. In fact, if you are in an environment and that creativity drives your product or drives your service, have you thought about making your environment, well, a little bit more colorful? In fact, the color yellow sparks more creativity. It does. So maybe you need to put a little pop in your environment. Pop it with a little yellow. And if you are in an environment where you need a more calming, relaxing, a little bit more soothing vibe, I recommend that you decorate with more neutral colors. So if you want to increase your productivity, I challenge you to do so with a little color. So this next tip for increasing your productivity in the work environment is actually a savvy one financially as well. It recommends that we keep our temperature in the office at around 72 degrees. Okay, that's just a good thing, financially as well as for creativity. Now, I have like very low blood pressure, so I'm always cold. So I have a blanket on the back of my chair that I keep, and I wrap up in it because I'm always chilled. But so those of you who get chilled a little easier and 72 to you is a little cold, well then just bring a little blanket and snuggle up while you work. For those of you who think that 72 is not cold enough, science says it really is. So don't take off too many layers of clothes in the work environment. We're not that kind of business. So this was a cool fact I learned in researching for this video. Okay, so I like scents, and now granted, they should not be overpowering in the workplace. Okay, let's just put that out there. I mean, I think we all know that. But the scent of lemon actually helps you reduce your errors, mistakes in the workplace by 54%. I did not know this. So grab a scent, not overpowering, and let it just permeate your workspace and reduce your mistakes and increase your productivity. Isn't that a cool fact? And we wrap up this segment on your workplace environment to help increase your productivity with the most obvious, and that is an ergonomic workspace. So let's reduce our eye strain. Let's not incur carpal tunnel and all the other things. So whether that is a standing desk, whether that is a ergonomic keyboard, whatever works for you, leaders, set your followers up for success and give them the workspace that best helps them and increases their productivity. It's a win-win for everybody. Tune in next week as we continue with the series on increasing your productivity, and may 2023 be your best year to date. Welcome back to another segment, and this one is all about organization. Let's begin. So it's only natural that we begin the segment on organization with our thoughts because that's where it all begins. So, the best way I can tell you to organize is to begin with first making a list. All right, that helps us with reducing the clutter and it starts the whole process. So, once you organize, you need to then prioritize and then you need to assign. It really is that simple. So, in our first segment, we spoke about your work environment space helping you to increase your productivity. Now, it's great to have a space, but if your space is a hot mess, that doesn't do you any good. So, let's talk about organizing your space. So, you need to first purge any unnecessary item. So, if you haven't used it in a hot minute, it needs to get out of here. And I highly recommend that you label everything. Okay? So you need to know what it is and where it goes and invest in containers and boxes, okay? Because everything needs to have its space. So you need to label it and it has to have a space. And your desk should have a natural workflow. All right? So for example, just a small example, near the phone, you should have pens and paper so you can take notes while you're on the phone. All right? Okay, we're wrapping up this section here and with organizing your tasks. So, big proponent here of creating a to-do list. So, write down all the tasks that you have to do, prioritize them, and then look to see if any of those are reoccurring. If they are, go ahead and schedule those out. All right, it's best to plan ahead. Now, look at those tasks. Are any of those tasks that you have, can they be automated? Let's work smarter, not harder, right? All right, and then let's minimize distractions. Go ahead and put a note on the door and say you're in a meeting because you are. You're in a meeting with yourself to complete the task. So let's say you're working on the budget. You need full focus. Your organization needs for you to be fully focused and not distracted with interruptions because you're dealing with the company's money, right? Or you're dealing with something that needs full attention. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. You do not have permission to put a sign on the door saying you're in a meeting with yourself to avoid your other job responsibilities and duties. Use that sign sparingly when you have a task that needs full attention. Okay? It's not a get out of responsibility card to put that sign on the door. All right, so that wraps up this segment on organizing. Next session is about time auditing, and you want to be here for that. So tune in next week. Have a great week. Welcome back to another segment on how to improve your productivity. And this segment is all about time auditing, and oh, you are going to want to take notes on this segment. Let's just begin. Let's just jump right on in. So some of you may be asking, what is a time audit? Well, in simple terms, it's how you are spending your time on the job. That's it. Some companies may require it, and some of us may just want to know because it's part of our professional growth or our personal growth. How am I spending my hours? So the intent of or the purpose of a time audit is for you to make intentional choices with your time, right? Some jobs actually require you to do a time audit because that's how you bill your time for your customers. So let's go in and to the next slide, and I'll tell you exactly how you create your own time audit. How cool is that? All right, so let me just begin by saying this is not an inclusive summary of how to create a time audit. There are multiple ways. So there's the old fashioned original pen and paper method, okay? It's time, tried, and true. There's also software and apps out there like Target Track, Desk Time, Every Hour, Timesheet Time Tracker. Just do a search on the internet for time audit um, apps, time audit software, and you will get a plethora of results. So basically what you want to do, whether you're doing it pen and paper or you're doing it by software or you're doing it by a app, you're going to select a week to track your time. Now you do not want an atypical week. You want your average week. You don't want it a light week. You don't want a heavy week. You don't want the results to be skewed. You want an average week. And then you're going to want to go about your normal routine, and you're actually going to track what you're doing. So you will write the date, you'll write the time, and then you write the time you start, the time you end, and what task you are doing. So you may say 8:03 phone call with Mrs. Jones regarding XYZ, and then you end that call at 8:21. Then you go in 8:22, work on Excel spreadsheet for customer ABC until 9:42. And you go through and you detail everything you do. Then you say 9:43, colleague, ABC comes in to discuss the issue, and you write out the issue for a client, blah, blah, and stays in, my office until 10:12. And you meticulously document everything you do because you are tracking your time. It's a time audit. So you want to, now you can see why people don't necessarily do the pen and paper, because it gets to be very meticulous. So you can kind of see why some people favor the apps, especially if it's connected to your computer and it's a little bit easier to note those things. So that's the gist of it, and it shows what you're doing and how much time you spend doing those things. It is quite revealing. It is. I recommend everybody do that at least once. Just saying. One of the things that you will learn from the time audit is, when is your peak performing time? Now, why is this important? It's going to help you to find out what is the best time for you to accomplish some of those tasks on the to-do list. So if you remember in the last segment, we said to prioritize your task. Well, when you do a time audit, it's going to tell you when your peak performance time is. When are you most productive? When do you crush the most tasks? So when you are organizing your to-do list, after you do a time audit, you're going to find out when you have the least interruptions. When are you crushing through most of your tasks? When do you have the most energy? So it's going to be very revealing to you, and you'll be able to say, I get more things done between 11 and 12:15, or I get more things done between 1 and 2:20. So that will help you in scheduling those things, or it will help you to know when to schedule meetings, or it's quite insightful. I recommend to my clients that they do a time audit when they schedule with me a SWOT analysis. So that's something for you to consider. If you would like help in scheduling or conducting a time audit or scheduling a SWOT analysis, contact us here. This wraps up this section. Join us next week when we talk about time intervals, not to be confused with this week's topic of time audits. Continue with us in this series as we help you to improve your productivity in the new year. Welcome back. I'm so glad that you are continuing on with this series, and I hope that it helps you to increase your productivity so that you may have a prosperous year. So this segment is all about time intervals. As if you were with us last week, we talked about time auditing, which will help you with this week time intervals, finding those little nuggets, those little segments within your schedule. So let's go ahead and start. So when we talk about time intervals, we're really talking about managing your time and not letting your time manage you. And one of the best ways of doing that is just that time blocking. So time blocking is intentionally setting aside time in your day to knock out the things on your to-do list. So that could be task, that could be meeting, that could be whatever you need to accomplish in a day. So what you're going to do is you're going to set aside blocks on your calendar, and you're going to fill those blocks with tasks or whatever you have to do in the day, including scheduled breaks. So let me give you an example. You may have in there a slot for working on the budget. That may be from 8 to 10. You're going to do nothing in that time block, but work on the budget, nothing else. Then you may have a slot in there from 10 to 11 to check your email. All right, so let's say you're at the 10 to 11, you're working on your email. At 11 o'clock, you have your alarm to sound that it's time for you to stop checking your email and move on to your next task. But oh no, it's 11 o'clock and you still have not responded to all the emails in your inbox. Do not, do not continue checking your emails. You must stop. You must stop. You are to follow your time blocking calendar, not complete all the items in that email box, that task. What you may learn is that tomorrow when you do your time blocking, you must create 2 blocks for email checking, perhaps one in the morning, one in the afternoon, because your inbox is more abundant than a 1-hour block. Or you may decide that you want to have 2 hours for email. Instead of 10 to 11, you may want to do 10 to 12. That is your choice. But the point is, you live by the time blocking calendar, not by the task. I promise you'll get better at it. It's hard at first. Also, you must, hear me on this, you must schedule breaks. We cannot live by task alone. We must have breaks, and we're going to talk about that in the next slide. That's a great segue. My last comment was about breaks, and that was a great segue because we're going to talk a little bit here about breaks. In fact, everything on this slide is about breaks. So the research recommends that the best ratio is a 52-minute work session to a 17-minute break. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't know that I can actually schedule 52 minutes and a 17-minute break. Those numbers are a little bit off for me. So most people will work 50 minutes and then take a 15-minute break. I got to be honest with you, 15 minutes for me personally, that's hard for me to schedule. I usually do 50 and 10. That's just me. It just works better for my mind to do 50 and 10. I work for 50 minutes and then I like things on the hour. That's just me. You do what works for you. But I am scheduled in my breaks. I purposely and intentionally schedule my breaks, and when I write in my breaks, I write that I'm stretching, I do neck stretches, or I walk, I go get more water. So I have a routine that I'm walking around. I have to do so many steps in my kitchen, and then I do my neck stretches, and so I have a routine that I do on my 10-minute break. To help me just to kind of be moving around so that I'm not sitting all the time. And those are planned just because it helps to get the blood flowing and to help keep me moving. So that's what I do. I'd be interested to know what you do. Put those in the comments below. I want to know. So that ends this segment on the time intervals. Come back next week when we talk about tackling the task, and that is our last segment in this series. I want to thank you for sticking through this entire series, and I hope that you found it helpful. We are in our last segment, and that's tackling tasks. So let's go ahead and begin. So I think we've all been there at one season of our life or another where we felt like we're not sure who manages who, the task or us. But if you feel like the task are managing you more than you are managing the task, this segment is for you. All right. It's no secret, but I'm going to share with you how to manage your task. And I've said it before, and as long as I've got air in my body to breathe, I'm going to exhale this. To-do lists are essential. And I don't care how you use them, whether it's paper, whether it's an app, or whether it is electronic on your computer. Pick your modality, but just pick a to-do list. So once you have your to-do list, start with the easiest task first because we all need some form of success. The only exception to that would be if you have procrastinated and your to-do list has met its to-do date, and then your due date is like past or approaching, then that's the task that you're going to start with first. Whenever possible, you should delegate tasks. Leaders, our job is to create leaders, right? You can't do that in a bubble, and leaders need experience, or creating new leaders, and future leaders need experience with the opportunity to lead a project. So delegate. And when you delegate, that's not the same as dumping the task on them. So set them up for success, guide them through the process, and delegate. Leaders, don't be afraid to seek out help. So if you are given a task and you're not sure how to complete it, ask others. There is no shame in the game when you ask for help. Do one thing at a time. There is and avoid multitasking. These two go together. Research says it over and over again. We cannot do more than one thing at a time and do it well. I know we like to think that we can. We like to think that we have the big S tattooed on our chest, making us super leaders. But truth be told, we cannot do multiple things at the same time and do them well. So do one thing and do it well. And then, of course, most importantly, reward yourself when you complete a task. Reward your staff when they complete a task. The only way we're going to repeat a behavior is if we are acknowledged, we are recognized. So reward yourself. I'm Dr. Renee Pleasant of Pleasant Leadership Consulting, where we inspire your leadership freedom. I'd like to thank you for watching this video, and if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Leadership University, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button. You will then be notified every week as we upload a new video. If you have any questions, please contact us at www.pleasantleadership.com. Leaders, go forth and lead well. Your followers need it.